The saga of Lisa Sanchez versus the city of Boise may have come to a close after months of finger pointing and an official lawsuit, but now we're getting an idea of what the legal wrangling will cost taxpayers. Sanchez is a name Boise voters have seen on their ballot since 2017, winning her last election for city council in 2021 with 57% of the vote. However, Sanchez lost her seat on the council in January of this year after a combination of redistricting and her moving meant she was no longer living within the district she's supposed to represent. Sanchez has maintained she was unaware she moved outside of the area and even claims she checked with the city to make sure she did not, which is why she eventually sued the city of Boise back in April. So we learned this week how much the city has paid to defend that lawsuit so far, which is more than $100,000. That's the number right now. So the question to you, Joe, or a couple of them, is this a big number and could it go higher?
It is possible it could go higher, Brian. And again, following the loss of her seat, Sanchez filed a lawsuit against the city of Boise claiming that she had inadvertently moved out of the district and the city had no legal authority to remove her. Sanchez wrote on social media in August that she will not be running for re-election to Boise City Council. In her post, Sanchez mentioned that she couldn't run for council while employed at a new job. And according to a press release, Sanchez now works for the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development and the Federal Hatch Act. It prevents federal employees from being elected to municipal office. So that's that. But this week, we actually learned that the city of Boise, they approved a budget item to increase funding to defend the case up to $149,000. That's an increase from $99,000, and that was originally set aside. But as you can see here on the document, to this point, the city tells me this afternoon they've spent about $106,000. And court records indicate that the case filed by Sanchez is now dismissed with prejudice, meaning can't just be refiled. So the city clearly has room, though, for more legal expenses in the budget. Again, basically up to $150,000. So yes, taxpayer dollars are what we're talking about here. And the city tells me that there is a specific budget line for outside attorney fees in the legal budget for the city. Comes out of the general fund there. And the city attorneys, they did not do this case specifically because they want to avoid a conflict of interest. The court did not rule, though, that Sanchez needed to cover any legal fees. So that is the final word on the case for now. Again, at least $106,000 used to defend the city from the Sanchez suit over the loss of her seat. And Brian, in terms of context, we're going to work to put that expense into context here on the 208. I know people are curious. Is this $100,000 payout? Is this a lot for a year or a lot for a case? So some of the records that we need to fully tell this story, we'll circle back to.
Because I'm sure that's the question. It's like $100,000, six figures, could be a big chunk of change for a lot of people. But in the grand scheme of things, how does that play out?
Yeah, stay tuned to the 208.
Thanks, Joe.